Well, welcome to Speech 128, section 0095. This is the summer of 2023. This is a 6-week version of the course. It's not like the normal semester length course that I teach. And just want to get you off to a really good start in this video. I'm going to wind you through the basics of how to be successful with this class, how to navigate through the different parts of it, and we'll get you through successfully. All right, so this is what it looks like when you first look at the actual class. The key thing is the way that it's organized, and it's organized by modules. Now the modules here, I'm going to click on the modules and you'll see they are laid out to be a bit like the chapters of a book. And each one of these is a link. For example, the syllabus, welcome letter, there's a video, meet your professor, it's me. You want to click on each one of these and walk your way through, right? Each one will have something for you to look at, to read. Note here that some of the things have deadlines, like for example, the orientation quiz and the meet and greet discussion. Notice that they actually are for June 12th, which is the first official day of the class. You want to make sure, absolutely sure, that you do those sometime before midnight on June 12th, because on June 13th, I have to drop anybody that didn't actually show up for the class on the 12th. So make sure you do those on the 12th, sometime before midnight. All right, the orientation quiz, by the way, is super easy. It's just a couple of quick questions to make sure you kind of look this information over. You'll have no problem. It's not a complex quiz. Just make sure you do it. That way I know that you've really officially started, okay? So introduction to the class is the first module here. This won't take you very long at all. There's a quick little section called About the Course, which has some more information about getting started. It also talks to you a little bit about something called the War Story Speech, which is your first real speech that you do in this class. And one thing you'll notice here, there's something called the War Story Examples. I recommend that you click on this, take a look. It'll take you to an exterior website that I have where you will be able to take a look at examples of previous war story presentations or speeches that students have made. There's actually 120 of them. You don't need to watch them all, though they're pretty entertaining, but just watch a couple, 2 or 3, just so you kind of get an idea of what students have done for that particular assignment, okay? All right, and notice that the war story is due on the 14th. So you can see things are moving, pretty quickly because it's such a short course. All right, the next section here, the next module, is called the skill package. Now this is the biggest part of the class, and I think the most important. The skill package starts in the first week, and it has 8 different parts to it. And they actually run all the way from the beginning to the very end of the course. You'll notice the last part of this is due on July 19th, which is one day before the end of the class. The skill package is something you do concurrently while you're doing the rest of the course. And it's a little bit more involved, so there's a whole video I made separately just about the skill package. So you want to watch this first before you actually start the skill package. It'll break it down for you in detail. Just be sure you realize that the skill package starts at the beginning and you work on it through the whole course while you're doing the rest of the course, okay? So the rest of the course is divided up into chapters. There's chapters 1, and it goes all the way through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Most of these are pretty much the same. There'll be something for you to read. There will be an activity to do of some sort with a due date. Many of them have something that we call the stop and think. For example, take a look here at chapter 1 and 2. That's the first assignment in here. As you'll see, it says chapter 1 and 2, stop and think. Now, when you're reading the information in the chapter, you'll see that it'll pause at one point and it'll say, stop and think, and it'll throw out a couple of questions to you, a couple of prompts. The idea is when you do the stop and think, you're going to pick one or more of those prompts and use those to write about your reflection about the chapter. So you'll see that when you get to that part. And then you'll turn it in, and then you'll be done with it. There'll also be a quiz on each of the chapters. All this, I think you'll see, is pretty self-explanatory as you move through. One thing to keep in mind is that every single thing that you turn in, right, every written thing has to be at least 250 words. That's one page, basically double spaced. Just make sure that you do a word check on your assignments to make sure you're writing at least 250. If you write less than that, I'll generally write you a note and say, hey, could you elaborate or add a little bit more to this to make sure you meet that requirement? All right, so let's say you've gotten all the way to the end, you've finished all the way to the very last module here. You've gone through chapter 6, 7. We get to the final. Now the final, there's no examination per se for the final. The final is one last speech that you do where you talk about your skill package. Essentially, what did you learn from doing the skill package? That's your final. And there are some really good examples here of former students giving their presentations about their final. And you can look these over. I recommend, look at least a couple of them like you did with the war stories. These were all videotaped examples. They're all really good. There's at least 70 or so here that you can look at. But I would recommend just look at a couple just to get an idea of what the final is like. You're just talking. It's really a casual conversation the way that you're having with your classmates about what you learned from your skill package. So that will be here at the very end, right? Upload your final speech. That's on July 19th. There's also an evaluation of the course and a couple of extra credits, right? And do those just to get some extra credit. It always helps. And then that will wrap things up for you, okay? All right, a couple of the things to be aware of. One is that you can also check your grades, and you should check your grades. Typically, I will grade things pretty rapidly within a couple of days, usually of you turning in some work. Sometimes I won't grade it if there's something wrong, but then I will have left you a comment. So be sure you check, right, your comments. You'll see that when you're at the beginning of your class, on the opening page, right now, this is a new class, so there's not a to-do list here in the bottom right-hand corner, but there'll be a to-do list for you, and underneath it, it'll say feedback from instructor. Be sure you check on that, so if there's anything that you didn't quite get right, you'll know, oh, hey, I didn't quite finish that, or I didn't get a grade because of this, and then you can resubmit it. Make sure you resubmit it to get your points for that, okay? All right, that's basically mostly what to learn here. Also, one last thing is if you go into your account, you can also turn on what are called notifications. That can be useful. Like, for example, if I post something new, you can find out about it right away, get an alert on your phone if you like. I wouldn't have everything set up that way. Otherwise, you're going to be getting notifications all the time, but just for some of the basic things. I will be holding office hours on Wednesdays starting at 5 o'clock. And I'll generally stay on as long as needed. It's not an obligation for you to come to office hours. I'm just there in case you need assistance, right? And I usually stay on as long as people are there. So come on by if you'd like to talk or have any problems at all whatsoever. So I'm here. You can also reach out to me through my phone number is listed here in the course in several places, email. I want to be here with you through this 6 weeks to get you through it. It's a pretty fast-paced course, but I think you're going to find it's really fun and enjoyable, and I think you'll have a good time.